Hey, so Jesse, we talk a lot about college on this show.
Yeah, we do. And what we actually mean is Avondale University College, where we both got our bachelor degrees in ministry and theology.
Yeah, and that's also where we became buddies and we lived in the dorms, we ate at the caf, walked to class in the sunshine. It was great.
It was great. We had late night Macca's runs, we led in worship, and we also met some of our closest friends there.
Absolutely. Probably one too many late night Macca's runs for me. But, honestly, studying at Avondale was the best. And we're so stoked to say that this episode is sponsored by Avondale University College.
Called to make a difference?
Called to beat Avondale. Welcome back to Bird in the Haystack with Josh and Jesse.
I'm Jesse.
And I'm Josh.
And this is a show all about saving the best and burning the rest.
Absolutely. And today we have a very special guest. I'm so excited. Please, everybody welcome the chai guy himself, Kevin Wilson.
What's up, guys? Jesse and Josh. Good to have see you both after some times of, like I said, of stalking both of you and listening to some of your podcasts. This is great. I'm in the presence of Adventist podcast royalty here. So thank you.
Well,
for the privilege.
I think it's appropriate because we are in the presence of TikTok royalty right now. It's fantastic. No, this is really exciting. I think everybody, you love good chai, don't you, Josh?
I do, but I don't think my chais are at the level of Kevin's chais.
It's true.
Yeah, you're like watching the videos because this is good to know when the stalking is mutual, ladies and gentlemen. So he stalked us, but we also stalked him, and now it's actually like, hey, let's get it all out in the open. Let's talk. And just watching Kevin, I didn't know chais could be made to the level that Kevin makes a chai. Really?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's pretty amazing.
Chai is such a core part of Southeast Asian cultures, and depending on how you were raised in those cultures, and depending on how much you want to get into it, like you can go into like levels into that thing. You know how some people are so like bougie about their coffee, like it's like the notes. I'm tasting some Fruit Loops and blueberries and peanut butter in my coffee or whatnot. Like it's whatever, it's conflict free or whatever. And I'm not saying this to put those people down. I think that's awesome. So you can like get to that level of like you can get that granular with your interest in chai as well. So yeah, it's just a lot of depth to it.
So was chai for you? Did you grow up? Was that sort of the drink in your household when you were growing up?
Yeah. So in Sri Lanka we called it tetani in my language because I spoke Tamil. So in Sri Lanka you speak Tamil and Sinhalese, and so growing up you had milk tea, and you didn't call it chai in Sri Lanka, but you would call it chai. You could call it chai in India and Pakistan, and that's kind of how it's commonly referred to in especially in the West. But yeah, I grew up with it. My dad made it for us from the time we were little kids, and so yeah, so I always made it. When people ask me to come over to their house, I'll make it for them, and especially when I came to the States when I was 18 years old, chai was one of those things that like I held on to because it gave me a sense of nostalgia and home, and helped me to just kind of hold on to those things, And so over time, now it just became, it's kind of blown out of proportions. I didn't expect anything to think how things happen in the way they were right now. So that's kind of how it's been in chai.
Yeah. Wow. So is that very communal to you as well? Like it's something you use to build community?
No, absolutely, man. Yeah. Like I said, growing up, I can't remember a time where, very, very few times where you would have tea or chai by yourself. It's always with somebody else. Like one of the non-negotiables that I have even right now is that you always make more for somebody else. And yeah, so if you go to India, if you go to Pakistan, parts of Southeast Asia, even parts of Africa, yeah, chai is it's a very communal thing. It just brings people together, regardless of who you are, what you are, and what And also in certain parts of India, you would not make important decisions unless you had a cup of chai before, because it's just it's kind of like this disarming thing where like everybody's like on the same kind of level, and now you can talk about stuff. So it's a very important thing.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of transfers a little bit into, well, some Western culture. I don't know about the US, but like British culture, and then into New Zealand, Australia. People come over, you always have a cup of tea together, kind of thing. You just always offer to make a cup of tea.
Yeah, a
I
lot
don't
of
know
overlap.
if it's quite to the same level, but yeah, it's cool. Communal warm beverages. We're all for it. Yeah. So can you run us through? Oh, sorry, Jesse, did you want to go?
Oh, no, all good. I was just going to ask really quickly for our viewers, just FYI, you mentioned grew up in Sri Lanka and then came to the US when you were 18. Do you want to give us sort of like a very quick bio, sort of get to know you? Who is Kevin Wilson, and where are you situated now? What do you do with your time apart from TikTok? We want to get into TikTok. That's going to be the main thing, TikTok and chai, obviously. But can you just give us that quick sort of get to know you?
Yeah, so I was born in Sri Lanka, 90s baby. Let's go. I don't know if you guys are 90s babies.
92.
But yeah, 90s. Okay, good.
91.
Good.
I'm just in, guys.
Yeah, so I grew up born in Sri Lanka, lived there till I was about 12 years old, and then my family immigrated to the Middle East, specifically Oman. It's a country in the Gulf region of the Middle East, very close to Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, and we went there because of employment for my parents. And so I spent my elementary school years in Sri Lanka, then I did my high school in Oman, and when I was 18, I got the green card through a lottery. That's a whole story for another day. But my family applied for the green card through the USCIS at the time, where if you applied for the green card and if your application gets picked, you get to go through an interview in the US embassy of your country, and if you get approved there, you get the green card. So that there was like a window of time during that period where it was possible, and so. My whole family applied. I was the only one who got it. And so I came to Maryland when I was 18 years old with 2 suitcases and a backpack and just trying to figure out what to do. And then to make the long story longer, I went to Andrews and started there, theology, finished there, got sponsored by the Southeastern California Conference here in California. And they put me through seminary, and now I'm here in San Diego, California for the last 3.5 years as a youth and young adult pastor. So, yeah, married. Got married 3 years ago as well, and so that's the little blurb.
Bio. Can I quickly ask about? So you went to study theology. So did you grow up Adventist, and when did you figure out that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I grew up Adventist. My mom and my dad did not grow up Adventist. My mom was Hindu, and my dad was Catholic. They met at an Adventist institution in Sri Lanka. They got baptized, and so by the time we showed up, they were already Adventist. So I grew up in the Adventist church, but I didn't really want to become a pastor. Excuse me. I actually wanted to be a pilot from a very young age.
Wow.
And when I was 18, when I came to the States, I just had one goal in mind. I wanted to become a pilot. And so I applied to all the flight schools, and none of them worked out, either because of finances or because of my abysmal high school GPA. And out of sheer desperation, really, I just challenged God. I said, God, like, if you are around, if you exist, because I was kind of struggling with that during that time, I want you to pay my way through school. And I told him, I'll be a pastor for you if you can send me through Andrews. Now, why pastor and why Andrews? because when I grew up in my small church in Sri Lanka and also in Oman, they kept telling me, it's like, you'd be a good pastor, and all of that stuff. And like, I knew how to say the right things, like I was the kid who knew all the Bible answers. I knew the sermons. I was the kid who was always picked up to just go and speak somewhere. So they thought that like, oh, this guy's going to be a good pastor. And so I was like, all right, cool, whatever. So it's like, God, I don't know what I have to do, pastor. And Andrews, because at the time in 2008, I thought that Andrews University was the only Adventist university in the country. I had no idea about the other. I had no idea about the other universities or institutions. Partly because Andrews was probably the most visible university. It has a global presence, international presence. And so I always watched 3ABN growing up, and I used to see it as a little kid. I was like, oh, I'd love to go to Andrews one day and take a picture with Pastor Dwight. And I ended up working with him. It was crazy. But so I went through Andrews, and I think the calling was kind of like a growing thing. I just kind of grew into it. And so, here I am.
Wow. I am kind of quickly interested about Adventism in is that Oman? Is that the?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we often don't hear much about what Adventism is like in that part of the world. I guess just quickly, what do you reckon about sort of the differences between that and Adventism where you are now?
Yeah, a lot of differences, man. Okay, for one, Oman is a predominantly Muslim country.
Yeah.
And when people talk about the Middle East, I think most of them, I don't know if it's intentional or not, you tend to have hasty generalizations about the whole Middle East, when in fact every country is different, and the freedoms that they allow for other religions and other people groups and races are different. So Oman is a very metropolitan country. They are open to different people and religions, and so which we were thankful for, definitely compared to other countries in the area. So most of the population in Oman are comprised of expatriates. So these are people who have come from different parts of the world to Oman for employment purposes. And so my parents, obviously, that's how they came. And so the Adventist population in Oman was very, very diverse, very, very cultural. You have people from India, Pakistan, you got some Americans, some Britishers, people all who were there to work. But there were some challenges as well of being an Adventist in Oman. One of them being early during that time, the weekend in Oman was Thursday and Friday, not Saturday and Sunday. Saturday was the first day of the week, which is problematic for people because in order to work there, now you'll have to also sign a contract that says that you also have to work on Saturday. And so you have, I remember growing up in our church, and you have like these two groups of people who are like, on the one hand, you have people who are just, I will do whatever it takes to keep Saturday on a Sabbath on Saturday. So even if that means I have to quit my job and go back home, I'll do that. But then there were other people who they were working on Saturday, but they were still Adventists, very active in the church. And so I grew up it was an interesting kind of culture to grow up, and because you had different people having different ideas about theology and Sabbath, but they were all just lovely people who wanted to follow God, who wanted to hold on to faith. And so it was a very close-knit group, regardless of differences. So yeah. So that was, I think, was probably one of the main differences, Adventism in Oman compared to here, I would say.
That's
pretty big
fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, like growing up in the West, that whole idea of keeping the Sabbath on the day that it's meant to be is often a very academic discussion. It's sort of like, oh, well, if I'm ever challenged or if I ever have this going on, blah, 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 I'll stick for my faith. But actually, when it comes to the rubber hitting the road, I've often found hearing stories like what you just shared of people in different places where religion, especially Protestant Christianity or just Christianity in general, it's not as respected by the state. It's a lot more of a gray, nuanced sort of discussion rather than just a simple, I will do what's right at no matter the cost, black and white. It's very interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, we were fortunate enough to. Oman was ruled by a sultan, like a sultan. And if you think of the Aladdin movies, you have the sultan, right? Yeah. We had a sultan in Oman, and so this guy was, he was such a gracious leader, and he actually did a lot of stuff for Christians. And when I talk about Christians, I'm talking about, the Protestants, Catholics, all of Christian, all the denominations together. And so he actually built churches for us. And so we had a good time under his rule. And so fortunate.
That's very cool. So Kevin, you moved to the US, you go through Andrews, you get picked up, you move to San Diego. Where is Chai in all this whole scenario? Where does Chai fit? And how in the world does Chai lead you to TikTok? I know we're just kind of just asking the question. What's happening? Because I don't understand TikTok. I'm just going to say that. Josh has a TikTok account. He makes TikToks, or he made TikToks. I don't know quite what the status is on that, but I don't know anything.
Yeah, so I think that's a two-part question. Let me answer. Let me answer the first one, which is like, where's Chai in all this, right? And and then I'll talk about that later. So I grew up in Sri Lanka. Chai is such a core part of our social life, and you can't imagine a relational network or a society without tea. And in Sri Lanka, we don't call it chai. We call it, in Sinhalese, we call it te, or in Tamil, the language that I speak, we call it tethani, which is basically black tea with infused with ginger and maybe some spices with milk. And so people would have like 3-4 cups of tea a day, at least. It was just such a kind of a social adhesive, in many ways. So I grew up with that. My earliest memories were around tea was my dad making it for us. And so when I moved to the States when I was 18, one of the things that I really wanted to hold on to were practices and rituals that would help me hold on to a sense of home, because I've moved so much. My concept of home is, it's very warped, and like I always try to hold on to certain things that kind of give me a sense of stability and security in the midst of all the flux, right? And so for me, chai was one of those things for sure. Now, when we talk about chai, typically we talk about spiced tea mixed with milk. And in India and Pakistan and other parts of the world, they call it chai. They don't call it tea, or what they call it in Sri Lanka. My first recollection of chai per se was when I was in Oman, and I tried the masala chai, which is basically the different spices. You hit it with the mortar and pestle, put it into your milk, and you drink it. And for me, I was just like, well, this is amazing. And so from that point on, like, that's kind of how I made it, even though that's not how it's made in Sri Lanka. It's a little different. So I held on to that, and I started making it here, and my friends would know that if I were to come to their house, I would make it for them. So chai was never a main character, in my storyline. It was kind of like background. He was always there, type of thing, whenever I used to do different things and go to different houses. But that leads me to what actually happened on TikTok, and I don't know if you want to go there now or if you want to go there later.
Yeah, you can run the timeline for us, man. I'm curious.
Yeah. So it was somewhere around, I would say, February of this year, February or March, I can't remember.
2020.
Yeah, 2020. I decided to just kind of document my chai making process on Instagram. At the time, I had like a decent following, barely 1,000 people on Instagram, just family, friends, colleagues. And I decided to just kind of, Instagram story the whole thing. And it generated some interest, and some people were like, oh, this is so cool. This guy's doing a chai again. It's so nice, whatnot, blah, blah, blah. So I was just like, okay, cool. And at the time I had a TikTok account, and the only reason I had a TikTok at that time was to spy and stalk my youth. So I was like, what are these guys into? Because TikTok was like the buzz, everybody was on it, and their mother and their father. And so I was like, okay, what's going on here? I want to see. So I got on the app, and I quickly realized as to why it's so attractive, especially to a younger demographic. I mean, the way the entire app is just made is just for consumption and also creating. Like it's an app made for, I would say, mostly for creators, really. And I was like, man, this is great. But at the time, I didn't think of it too seriously. I was like, okay, I don't have time. I don't have bandwidth to get into another thing. I was already working on my YouTube channel, and that was generating a decent amount of subscribers. And so I said, okay, I'm going to just focus on that. Don't have time for TikTok. But after my story series on Instagram on Chai made some buzz, I decided to just take those stills. It was just really still pictures, and stitch together on my phone through an app, and just do a voiceover and just upload it on TikTok and see what happens. I had no expectations. And I put it on TikTok. Nothing happened for the first day. Few views here and there. It was just 20. At the time, I had about 20 or 25 followers, just usually my youth, really. And then after about 6 or 7 days, my notifications started to go up like crazy. And I went to my TikTok and said, it was like hundreds and hundreds of views every single day.
Wow.
And within 10 days, that particular video went up from like 100 views to about 20,000. And then I was like, wait, something's happening here. And it kept happening. It just kept going. And people started to share stuff. And I was like, oh, wow. And so after a couple of weeks, 2 weeks from that point, I went from, I think, about 20 to about 200. And then a week later to 10,000. People just wanted to, they really wanted this stuff. And I was like, okay, wow, okay, this is crazy. And so I just started to make more Chai content, experimenting with different things, different voiceover situations. And yeah, so that was I started to seriously post stuff somewhere around April. Now, I'm at about 145,000. Yeah.
Wow.
On TikTok. It's been crazy.
Yeah,
it's been crazy, man. So that's like the wide angle bird's eye view of what's going on TikTok.
So when did you say you started your TikTok account? What was the month? It was this year. So we're talking this year.
So I had an account. I started an account in January. I didn't post anything till I think February.
Okay.
But I started consistently posting at the beginning of April.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a little bit of a time period between that first video and then you starting to actually post. So we're talking realistically 0 or 20, whatever, to 145,000, almost 150,000 in between February and November, which is kind of insanity.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, man. Yeah,
wow.
Even when I think about it right now, I'm just like, really? It's quite a bit. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of so when I deleted the app. I still have my profile on there. I might re-download it. I don't know. I'm back and forth on it at the moment. But anyway, I remember just watching just the way their algorithm works on TikTok. It's kind of bizarre. I mean, my videos only ever they got like 2,000-3,000 views or something, which is pretty awesome. Like for me at the time, I was like, man, that's crazy. And I think I only got like 200 followers, but I didn't know any of them, which is weird for me. Even that was like, is people following me and connecting with me? And my stuff was like very, very Christian. But it was really cool just seeing the impact some sort of like a nobody in New Zealand could have, even just the way it works. But then I would notice some videos, nothing would happen. And then all of a sudden an old video that I'd done like multiple videos ago would just like come back up and get a whole bunch of views and likes out of nowhere. It was really strange.
The algorithm on TikTok is probably one of the best algorithms out of any social media app right now, man. It's for that very reason. When you talk about Instagram, you talk about YouTube, and even I would say Instagram and YouTube. The algorithm is interesting where it's kind of like chronological, where if you post something today, it'll generate some buzz, it'll generate some interest for that maybe today, tomorrow, and maybe the day after that. But then after that, it just dies down. You have to now keep posting in order to kind of keep doing that, right? And but whereas in TikTok, you post a video now, you never know if it's going to go viral or not. Like it can get picked up a week later by an algorithm, and it can go viral. And that's exactly what happened with my first the chai video. Nothing happened for like 10 days, and the 10th day just got picked up. And I seen that happen with multiple videos on TikTok. And so what people say on TikTok is just keep posting stuff, just put it out there. And it's kind of like this river, right? You're just posting stuff on the river and it just takes it through, and it's going to come back again. You never know what's going to happen. And so, and that's why the discoverability and the potential for someone to go viral is extremely likely on TikTok compared to other apps right now.
Well, I think that's the thing that TikTok definitely has in advantage when it is compared to Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, is those algorithms have been notoriously unpredictable and just always changing. And that's one of the things that I've always been frustrated, especially with YouTube and Instagram, is that you set up your strategy for posting content, and then in a week or 2 weeks, that strategy is complete trash. And you just have to continue to change. And I know that they're still always, changing the algorithm for any social media application, but it just seems that TikTok has become this thing that is a lot more predictable, where you know what you have to do, and if you keep plugging away. But of course, I guess at the end of the day, if your content is interesting and if people actually want it, that's the thing that really matters. That's the thing that really counts.
Absolutely. I mean, the algorithm is just one piece, but then you have to create good content. You also have to think about stuff like niche. You have to think about how is it benefiting the people you're watching? Like, who's your ideal audience? You gotta start asking the same questions that you ask whenever you're posting on any social media platform, whether it's YouTube, whether you're podcasting, whether these are the fundamental basics. You gotta think about those analytics, right? And also, the explosive growth that TikTok has right now is not uncommon when you consider the history of other social media apps in the past. When you have Facebook, when Facebook was a big thing, it blew up, and there was just the algorithm was really, really good. YouTube, when YouTube started, I don't know if you guys realize that. Maybe you remember when like YouTube was like a thing, but at the time, for a lot of people, YouTube was like, the way they see TikTok now is how people saw YouTube at its infancy back then. They were kind of like, it's whatever, it's okay. Yeah. But the early adopters, they reap the benefits. You got Marques Brownlee and all these guys who are at like tens of millions of followers right now, because they were like, okay, I'm going to see how this thing works. And yeah, it paid off, right? And so at the time, the algorithm was very, very generous. But then as the app grew and the infrastructure grew, then they have to now start thinking about, okay, we need to kind of, monitor the traffic. And I think that probably, I think that might be also the case for TikTok as well, but we don't know when that's going to take place.
So you reckon we might be living in that sort of mythical golden era it's not going to last, possibly. Because I know
like
that
Instagram
Reels,
like Instagram Reels right now.
Yeah,
my bad.
Yeah, you go.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, because like when I think of what you were just saying, the early YouTube creators, Marques Brownlee, Ray William Johnson, Filthy Frank, H3H3, they were the creators who they and many others were the ones that really created what YouTube is today. But in many cases, they no longer represent YouTube because either they haven't been able to shift, or their content has shifted to the point where they're no longer the sort of person that they were. H3H3 has their podcast now. That's all they do, pretty much. Filthy Frank just quit YouTube completely and started doing music. Ray William Johnson is gone, and it almost seems like MQBHD is pretty much one of the only guys who's still kind of doing the same thing that he's always done. So yeah,
absolutely,
anyway,
man.
I cut you off before. Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was just about to just plug in and just say even what's happening with Instagram Reels right now is one of those. I think it's an opportunity for creators on Instagram. If you like have a substantial following on Instagram, you experiment with Reels right now. I mean, it's insane. I've been putting some Reels, experimenting with Reels, 15, 30 seconds ones, and my first one is almost at 1 million views.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. And like, yeah, just with that one reel, but the followership on Instagram, went from, that just that one video, 10 seconds, 10 or 15 seconds had 300, 400 followers, just like on that day.
It's ridiculous.
So
Crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. So we don't know how long it's going to last, but
yeah.
Yeah. The thing I have noticed with Instagram Reels though, is everybody's first Instagram reel, they push it hard to get you hooked to keep making them. And then I've seen it with every single reel that it drops. So your first one is really key. If you like, when you do that one, do it well. But then after that, it does get a little bit harder. I don't know. I think that's just Instagram being like, we want to be a little bit like TikTok.
Yeah.
But we don't really want to change that much. So we're just going to help you once or twice and then that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I am very pessimistic about Reels, the future of Reels, at least as a competitor to TikTok. I don't.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because like before TikTok, it was Snapchat was the big thing that Instagram was trying to compete with. And in some ways, I feel like Instagram has kind of killed Snapchat a little bit. I still have my Snapchat app, but I'd be lucky if I open it up once every 6 months. Stories now for Facebook and Instagram has become so ubiquitous.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that happening with TikTok? Or are you just skeptical that they can't reproduce the TikTok sort of phenomenon well enough?
You mean like if they can reproduce what's happening on TikTok on Instagram? Is that what you're asking?
It seems like Instagram specifically is trying to kind of do like every time, like we saw this with stories. Stories became this thing that's only Snapchat was really doing, and then Instagram said, okay, we can do that, and then introduce it to Facebook. And it seems like that. I don't have data, but it seems that Snapchat has kind of fallen out of favor compared to the fact that I can have stories on Instagram. And I can have regular Instagrams. Do you see that happening with TikTok or not?
I don't see that happening on with TikTok for multiple reasons. Right now, I think it's basically between TikTok and Zuckerberg. And then you have Google with YouTube. So TikTok is going to do whatever they can to improve that algorithm as much as possible. And so, because the only way that they can stay in the game is if they can keep improving the algorithm without compromising the ability for creators to be discovered, without compromising the ability for creators to go viral. That's what's really separating TikTok from everybody else. It's a creator first platform too, in the sense that everything in the app is like designed and is made for someone who actually wants to produce content. And so even just the architecture of the app is just very, very different from Instagram and other places. So I think it's going to take a long time for TikTok to go stale or kind of get into some sort of a rigor mortis when it comes to its relevance. So that's for me. That's kind of I right now I'm not like completely putting all my eggs in that basket, but I realize that I just as long as I just keep producing stuff, as long as I just keep showing up right now, that's kind of what I'm gonna do. So
yeah,
riding the wave.
Riding the wave. That's where it's at. Yeah, awesome. Well, I guess let's talk about you for a second. Like, how did it feel for you to go from, I don't know, to just getting what? How many was it? 100? No. How many followers was it on TikTok again? Sorry.
Right now it's about 145,000.
Let's just say 150. Let's just round it up to 150, man.
We're being prophetic. Yeah.
By the time this episode airs, it's going to be like 200. So let's do this.
But how did it feel for you to go to like be so, I don't know, your face going onto so many people's devices and whatever, like all these people following you? Is it like a scary feeling? Is it weird? I don't know, confronting?
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I remember when I first went viral and I hit like 20K in like less than a month. I was talking to my wife. I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, this is insane. You know, it's just TikTok. It's not YouTube or Instagram, it's Facebook. So at the time I was kind of like it's whatever, you know, nobody cares about TikTok, you know. But I think what really kind of got me, or had me pause, was just the amount of attention and how much of an attention funnel TikTok was, because as my TikTok started growing, everything else started to grow too, and my visibility just increased across the board. And yeah, it was nervous, man. Like it was nerve-wracking. And I remember hitting like a not necessarily a wall, but just going through just kind of some sort of a crisis. I said, I don't want to be a TikTok star. Like, I don't know if I want to be known as like a chai guy. I don't know if, because I'm a pastor. Like, this is not what I want to like do, but people know me for this. And so initially I had to ask all these questions. And I don't know if you know, I'm sure you do, Heather Thompson Day. She is you need to get her on a podcast, by the way. It's just letting you know.
Okay,
if you can. So she's the blueprint for Twitter from the Adventist perspective. Like she's doing like almost 40K right now on Twitter.
Wow.
She's an Adventist. She's a communicator. Anyhow, so she's kind of been my mentor for a long time, and like I talk to her, I give and ask her some stuff about ministry and communication even before the TikTok things to happen. And so I called her up, and you know, I just said, I don't know what to do. Like, should I just keep doing this? You know, should I just quit because I don't know if I want to do this? And I'm really indebted to her because she had gone viral a couple of times on Twitter, and so that's why I called her. And she said, look, you don't know how God might use these moments, you know, and just keep showing up. As long as you are not compromising who you are, as long as you're not compromising your identity in Jesus, as long as you're not doing anything that is inconsistent with your calling, like I don't see what you're doing as wrong. As a matter of fact, this is a nerve. People want more of this, and you're touching a nerve, and they want stuff from you. So maybe adopt your position from being like a creator of stuff to like now you're serving the audience, you're ministering to them. And so that really was just kind of like a pivotal moment for me, and said, you know what? And I prayed to God. I was like, God, I'm just going to keep showing up. And now it's kind of a no-brainer for me because I see this as ministry. Like 145,000 people on TikTok, most of them not Adventist, most of them not Christian, people from different walks of life, people who, you know, the church has either marginalized intentionally or unintentionally, or you know, are ill-equipped to serve and minister and nourish them. Those are the people who keep showing up on my TikTok, and also my Instagram. A considerable amount of followers on Instagram. They know that I'm a Adventist pastor. They know I'm a student pastor, but they still keep showing up. As a matter of fact, even defend me on TikTok against like other people who might like say some negative things about me because I'm not Christian enough or whatnot. And so they're like, yo, you know, no, don't mess with this guy. So it's like, whoa, this is crazy. This is like this. There's this tribe of different people from different walks of life. So a good portion of them Christian, but a majority of them are not. And I'm like, I love it. I love it here. This is great. So
that's cool.
Wow.
One of the things that I get fascinated about is the comment section, as you just mentioned. You like my main reference point is YouTube for the comment section, which is either usually memes or is pretty vitriolic. What's your comment section like?
Mostly positive. Mostly positive. But the minute I talk about something other than chai, so I've been experimenting with just me talking about my faith, and talking about like where I lean politically. I've been kind of not necessarily vocal per se, but just have expressed some concerns and some opinions that I have. Now, those things have generated, some attention from other people, and not always very, very positive. And you always get those comments. And part of the job is just to see, just to keep your eyes on and where it needs to be, and just keep posting. So
potentially vain question, but I'm just interested. Do you get recognized out in the wild? Like you're in a cafe in San Diego, or you're just walking down the street? Do people recognize you as the chai guy?
Not I haven't had that experience yet. Like I haven't had that experience where I just walk and they're like, oh, look at that's the guy. No, I haven't had that. However, some of my youth have shared me with like some of the other friends who are not necessarily from the church, but from all walks of life. Their family maybe in different part of the world, and they're like, oh yeah, I know this guy. Like I've been following him. Like he's your pastor.
Whoa.
So that's happened quite a bit. Okay, a funny crazy thing. I went to Portland for my friend's ordination. His last service there, and he was leaving to seminary. And when I went there, one of his youth saw me, and this dude quickly ran inside the church, got a Sharpie, and came to me. He's like, are you Kevin Wilson, Cross Culture Christian on TikTok? I was like, yeah, that's me. Oh my God. And then he proceeded to remove his shoe. It's a really nice, white, beautiful Stan Smith. And he gave it to me, and he said, with his Sharpie, I beg you, can you please sign my shoe? At church on a Saturday afternoon. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? That's probably one of the most bizarre things I've had to experience. But yeah.
Well, I can say without a shadow of a doubt, I've never been asked to sign somebody's shoes. So once that has happened to me, to Josh, yes. Once that happens, I know that I'll have arrived. That's amazing.
It's weird, man. It's super weird.
That's so funny.
But I was humbled. It's just
yeah.
So did you do it?
Of course, man.
Yeah,
of course. I said, I wrote, there's more to life than what meets the chai.
Oh.
Yes.
I imagine you would have made his whole week.
Amazing.
So I was like, perfect.
That's so good.
Wow. So run us through, there are a lot of people who have the same sort of following as you, and yet they do that kind of as their job, or at least a part-time employment. Whereas you still work as a pastor full-time?
Yep. Full-time.
Yeah. Must be kind of hard to keep up. I find it hard to keep consistent on social media. I really value it, but I find it quite hard to keep consistent with it and keep consistent with my work as well. And I don't have anywhere near the following you have. So it's, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, man. To be honest with you, that's a question that I still am trying to answer and try to figure out, because, all this is relatively new. We're talking last 7 months, So I've had to really think about boundaries. I've had to really double down on my schedule. As a pastor, before all of this stuff happened, there's this kind of illusion that you have all this time to do stuff, in the sense that when you're at home, especially in COVID, like nobody's telling you, okay, you need to be here and go there. And so but now I have to time block stuff. I have to time block time for creating. I have to time block things for work. So that's kind of how I am able to, I'm at least trying to stay above water. Yeah, it's not easy. But I think what makes it easy and also enjoyable is when you know your why. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you in ministry? Like, why are you a pastor? You can quit if you want to, but why are you not quitting? So I have my reasons for why I'm not quitting. and I also have a why for why I'm creating. So, and for me, both my full-time ministry as a pastor and what I do on TikTok, for me, both of them is ministry for me, for different audiences. And so as long as I kind of have like a clear why, and I know that it's consistent with who I am, it kind of becomes like this North Star that can help you guide through, the daily decisions.
So do you have a schedule? Like, are you pretty rigid with posting content and stuff like that? What does that look like for you?
It's not as structured as I want it to be. A lot of people think that like I am, but it's not as structured. What is structured are a couple of things. I think so Mondays are usually like the days that the whole day on Monday I time block set apart for content creation. So that's planning content ideas, even creating stuff, the TikToks, and I try to batch create a lot of stuff on Monday because I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so 5 days a week there. Sunday is like, I'm a Sunday keeper because I'm a Seventh Adventist church pastor. Yeah. So y'all know that. You all know that. Get it, bro. So we get it. So Monday is just creating content creation days, and then my posting schedule on TikTok. It's like every other day. I try to post something on TikTok, and then if I post something on TikTok, it's just a matter of like repurposing it and then just putting it on to Instagram, either Reels or so. It's usually TikTok, post it and then take it and then put it on Instagram right after. So I have this kind of interesting strategy. If I'm posting a chai video on TikTok, I put the recipe on Instagram, so people have to kind of follow me there. And so that's kind of like that. So that's like an attention funnel. So you want to have different funnels. So I want to have I want to have stuff on each of the platforms that they will not find on other places. So on TikTok, I have the TikToks, but then some other small mini videos there. On Instagram, I have the recipes plus behind the scenes content, which you can't find on TikTok. But then on Twitter, it's more like Christian stuff where I like talk about my thoughts on what's happening from a Christian perspective. So I'm still kind of figuring out what to do on YouTube, but that's kind of what I am right now. So that's, yeah.
Because I feel like that would be the next logical step, like is get into YouTube, because it seems to be that's where the big money maker is. But actually, I don't even know that. Like, I say that, but I don't know. What does the financial side of TikTok look like for you?
Or for anybody, really.
Well, yeah, I think this is an interesting question because people who are wanting to get into TikTok probably also want to know how much could I potentially make money? Could I potentially make it my career? I know that's very aspirational. When I talk to kids, I'm a chaplain, so I talk to the kids at my school. That's what they want to do. It used to be YouTuber. Now it's TikToker. And they
Pastor
think
Jesse, how do I use TikTok to make it rain? That's what they want to know. That's the exact question they ask, isn't it?
They're very articulate. It's surprising.
Sorry. You can make it mildly overcast. I don't know about
make it rain. Although I have to, let me give you myself as a case study, and then people can make their decisions based on that. So on TikTok, there are a couple of different ways to make to generate income. There are a few ways of generating income natively through the app. So you can subscribe for ads through TikTok, and then you pay TikTok to promote your stuff, which will generate more views. Okay, so that'll boost your whatever. But in terms of actual money, once you hit 100K on TikTok, you get to you can opt to join this thing called the Creator Fund, and the Creator Fund is basically like this big pool of money that's put into TikTok. And it's based on how well you do on your videos, you get a certain percentage of that which you can cash out at the end of 2 months. So now that depends on your views and your subscribers. Well, actually mostly views. So for me, it doesn't generate much. I mean, with the views that I'm making, it's like $1 for 10,000 views.
Wow.
Which is not much.
That seems very stingy. But I guess
very, very small.
Yeah.
But when you have a lot of creators, applying for it, like that can even reduce even more.
Yeah.
But so if you're depending on the creator fund, that's not a wise financial option for you. But here's how you can make money. TikTok is an attention funnel. So like if you do really well on TikTok, you can potentially get or divert much of the attention to other places. So on Instagram and also your YouTube. So that's one way a lot of people make money. They'll get a massive following on TikTok and they would say, okay, if you want like a longer version of this, follow me on YouTube. So YouTube subscriber count goes up and then you can actually monetize your content better there on YouTube. So that's one way to do that. Probably the most lucrative way of making money is through sponsorships on TikTok. And that's kind of how I am making some side income as well. After my TikToks went viral and my Instagram grew, that kind of created interest for other chai companies. And they actually reached out to me and they said, hey, would you mind reviewing the stuff? And so for whatever they want to do, like you have like a certain, like a pay rate that you give. And then so you can actually charge anywhere between, depending on your content, you can charge between, I don't know, $300 to $1,000 per post. Based on your subscriber account, based on your follower count, numbers. And so for me, I'm working with a chai company right now on the side. I got that whole thing cleared with the conference, and I asked them, "Hey, is this cool?" And so they gave me some things to think about, and got the green signal. And so I'm working with these guys for a flat fee every month. And so if someone wants to go full time, they can, but it's going to take a while for them to. You'll have to work hard to get an audience first. You have to start creating a product that you can actually market and sell. And that could be recipes, that could just be, your own products. And then as long as you have a tribe, as long as you have an audience, and there's a need for it, and then it's just a matter of growing it and actually making it your big thing. And so for me, like I can technically quit ministry if I want to right now, and then go full throttle on TikTok and Instagram and start actually generating more income than what I'm getting in my ministry. Wow. I can. Yeah, I technically can. But again, now it comes down to your why for what you're doing, right? And so at this point in my journey, I don't see this being like a full-time thing, although I'm beginning to see that what I'm doing on TikTok can actually open up many doors for me in terms of what I really, really want to do in terms of ministry in the future. And so that's kind of how I'm seeing this thing right now. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
wow.
Cool.
That's so interesting. Like, I don't know. You don't hear this sort of thing every day, that it's just like, oh, I've got this whole thing going on. I could quit my full-time ministry to do this other full-time ministry if I wanted to, but I want to keep doing both. Like, it's pretty massive response. I don't think people who aren't pastors probably don't comprehend the responsibility that comes with both of those.
Yeah. So like, there's a ton of people who show up on my TikToks who know that I'm a pastor, but are not Christian, and right. So there are atheists, there are agnostics, let me tell you this is crazy. A couple of weeks ago, someone reached out to me on Instagram, and she DM'd me and she said, "Are you Adventist?" Like with like multiple question marks. And I said, "Yeah, it's in my bio." So yeah. And then she was shocked. She was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so insane." And I said, "Why?" Like, I've never met this person. I don't know who this person is. She's like, "Well, guess where I heard about you. Guess where I heard about you from?" And then she sent me a link, and I kid you not, guys, this was a podcast by two witches, okay, on witchcraft.
Oh yeah, right? That's normal.
So two ladies who identify as witches, and they have this podcast where they talk each week about, things like potions and the winter solstice and all of that stuff. And so they send me this episode. She sends me this episode and she said, fast forward all the way to like minute 47 and then listen. And then I was like, okay. So I take the thing and I listen. This is so bizarre to me, even as I think about it right now. Towards the end of every episode, what these two people do is they talk about things that they resonated with over the last week. They call it sparks or something. And so this one of the witches, she said, you know what? I have a spark and I really want to mention this to you. There's this person I met on TikTok. His name is Kevin Wilson. He goes by Cross Culture Christian. He's a Christian guy. And he does this amazing chai videos. And, I'm just not there for the chai. I just love how he talks about the good life and things like compassion and forgiveness and using chai as an allegory for all things awesome. And she was just going on and on about me for the next like couple of minutes. And then she's like, everybody who's listening, please go check him out. He's awesome. And that's how the thing ended. Wow. And I'm like, what? Like if my seminary professors had told me, one day you're going to be in ministry and you're going to be in a podcast on witchcraft, I would not have. But here we are. And so that's just one of many interactions that I've had with people as a result of what I do on TikTok. And so, yeah, it's crazy.
I have so many questions around this. So wait, the girl who messaged you, is she Adventist? And if so, why is she listening to a podcast on witchcraft?
Wow, Josh, that's
I didn't even know there was a whole witchcraft podcasting scene.
My goodness.
No, well, I'm just asking. Is that a thing?
Right.
Is that what the kids are into now? Like,
Maybe.
Okay, so this lady who messaged me, she was former Adventist who's now into witchcraft. Okay. And then she's now followed me on Instagram. And with full knowledge that I'm an Adventist pastor. And so that's that piece of thing, side of the story. But on TikTok, witch talk is a thing. There's just a whole tribe, a community of witches and pagans. I mean, they call themselves this, and they would do content. And you know what? They've taught me a lot about like what they're into. One of the common misconceptions about what they do is that all they talk about is casting hexes on people and
Satanism,
throwing stuff on Christians and stuff like that. But there is I've come to understand that there's like a kind of a sect or denomination or group or tribe within witchcraft that is very just new agey, but very innocent. I mean, these guys, you think hippies, think crystals, think like care for the earth, think climate change, like woke witches, and it's like interesting who but that there's a group for that.
I love it.
It's interesting.
Woke witches. I just think that is the coolest thing ever. It's so funny.
Fascinating. Yeah, no, I mean I had a friend who was a witch, and so I mean but she was more on that side of it, not she did talk about a hex and stuff.
It's funny as a Christian. Like,
it was a bit scary at the time.
But anyway, as a Christian, you definitely get conditioned against that sort of thing. Like when we were going through Avondale, I don't know if you remember this, Josh, but on one of the walks, because it's all in the bush, it's this huge bush area.
Oh my gosh, I remember this. I know what you're talking
about. Right? So there's this
place
right next to the river, which apparently is a haunt for local witches and wizards where they go to cast their spells, and it's very creepy, and there's like sort of these like straw huts or whatever that people have made, and it's like even in this holy place, we have this fear of these satanic, and it's this weird sort of vibe. I don't know. Did you ever have any experiences? I never had any experiences. Josh, did you have any?
Yeah, no, look, I don't know if it was just stories that people told to freak out first years or something, I don't know if there's actually anything there.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But I do know that in other areas not far from Avondale, so it's nothing to do with Avondale, but there was a bit of a scene for that.
Yes. We had the Crystal Shop.
Yeah, which was just up the road.
Yeah.
And I think that's not just a crystal shop, because a friend I know who's very into crystals said that's like one of the best in New South Wales crystal shops.
Wow, the best in New South Wales.
One of the best, which is
the best in the regional area of Kurunbong.
Well, sorry, Kurunbong isn't a very big place, just for our international audience.
Yeah.
Who need to know that. Yeah.
But I do love, Kevin, how through the power of chai and Jesus that you are reaching all these people that I'm assuming that you would never have reached, or would never have even probably known about, were it not for this platform. So that's quite incredible. I do want to talk about chai. We're gonna talk about chai at the very end, but one last question about that. In what way has this whole experience shifted the way that you think about ministry, evangelism, and reaching out to people? Because I don't know about you, but growing up as an Adventist, you tend to have a very sheltered, very sort of us versus them attitude when it comes to people who are not inside the tribe. So how is this sort of, has it shifted it? I'm assuming it has. What has that been for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that has happened to me with my TikTok is it's forced me to revisit my understanding of ministry and my understanding of evangelism. And so, I think that at this point, at least, I see a difference between those two. Ministry in its basic sense is, I think, practicing the way of Jesus by serving one another without reservation or qualification. And it's also the calling that like every Christian accepts once they have chosen to order their lives according to, the way of Jesus, the Gospels, as revealed in Scripture. So that's ministry. Paul talks about this. He calls it the ministry of reconciliation, where it's the calling that all Christians have to bridge the gap between you and previously who were enemies of God, through your presence. Evangelism, I think, is a specific type of ministry where someone is inviting somebody else to reorient their lives or their desires in the way of Jesus. This could be either through a personal conversation, it could be through a seminar or a sermon or social media post where you're explicitly asking them, hey, follow Jesus, follow this guy. Put it another way, I would say, evangelism is ministry, but not all ministry is evangelism. I do see kind of a difference between those two things. I don't know if other people might agree, but and so that's kind of what I try to do in TikTok, kind of veers more on the ministry side of things, like at least according to my definition. I make videos about chai in an effort to just educate people about the culture, the history, and the practice of chai, and also use it as a medium for storytelling, where I talk about my own life, my immigrant experience, my third culture kid experience, my experience through religion and faith. And then B, to kind of bridge the relational gap between them and me, between me, an apprentice of the way of Jesus, through the Adventist theological imagination, and them, whatever they believe, without any strings attached. And so that's kind of what this TikTok journey has taught me. And man, like, I think much of what passes off as online ministry on social media, I think, in my humble opinion, is basically just talking to Christians and just Christians, just scratching their backs and confirming the things that they already believed. And you're talking that because when you, judging by what you're saying and how you're saying it, you are assuming that the person who's listening to you also has the same base level assumptions about reality and God and the metaphysical. But and you guys know this, and we pastoring right now, we know this, like that, we can't assume that anymore. Yeah. And so when we lead with stuff like, in the Bible it says, in chapter, it's like, bro, you're done. You're done, because that's not their starting point. And so with TikTok and chai, like I don't lead with orthodoxy. I lead with empathy. There's a difference. Yes, you're not compromising your orthodoxy. You're not compromising your truth. You're not compromising your identity. You're not compromising who you are in Jesus. But you're choosing to start from there, but you're not starting with that.
Hmm.
Okay. What you're starting with is yourself, your story, your uniqueness. And I think God has been taking me through this journey of helping me kind of reframe my story, not as a liability. For the longest time, I thought my story was a liability because I didn't fit in, man. Like, when I came to Andrews as a theology student, everybody, every other person in my class was either like a great grandson of Uriah Smith or a grandchild of Ellen White, and like all these Adventist pedigrees. And there's this kid from Sri Lanka who got a green card and is trying to, like, I don't, like, I always felt like, man, is this what? But God has been taking me through this journey of like, I've given you a story, like I've given you things that you enjoy. I've blessed things in your life, and at this point and in this season of my life, it just so happens that tea, like a cup of tea, is just this symbol through which I can get to share what God has done in my life. Disarming, open, I guess, in a way that it's just like a story and not like telling people what to do. So yeah, man. So it's really just kind of shifted my understanding of ministry. It's really shifted my understanding of ministering to the other, whoever the other is, especially right now in this country where, when they find out that you're a Christian, like all of these things come up, like, oh, you're a Christian, so you must be this, you must be this and this and this and this and this. And that's the moral atmosphere right now, especially here in America. So when people find out that I'm a Christian, more often than not, they're like kind of shocked. They're like, wait, you're a Christian? Like, I thought, wait, what? How? And so now we can talk about stuff. We can now engage and go there if you want to. So they might come for the chai, but they might stay a little longer for something else. And I've told God, whatever they want to stay for, that's up to them, and that's up to you, and it's between me and them and you. And you let me know, and we can talk about you if you want to. And that's happened. And I've had conversations with this Hindu kid who found me on TikTok, and he said, bro, like, let's set up a Zoom call. I literally have no idea about Jesus, but I think you're just cool. And if like all Christians were like you, I think there might be something to it. And I'm like, bro, I don't, like you haven't seen half of me, but let's have a conversation. And so we ended up talking about the Gospels for an hour. And there was another pagan person who's like, I'm decidedly atheist, but if you are my pastor, like, I would love for you to be my pastor. And people like, I left the church like just a couple of months ago, but if I had you as like, like stuff like that, and I'm just like, that is crazy. And the world needs Adventists, Christians who own their story, man, who are able to surrender their lives to Jesus so that God can show them like who they are and what they're interested in, so that through them, their lives can become a launching pad for something deeper and something more meaningful for other people. And so that's kind of the journey that I'm on right now. And it's great, bro. It's really, really, really awesome.
Wow.
That's so cool. I love that. And that should be like it's just a really cool place that I want people to float on and think like, what can you use to bridge the gap between people? And it's a big question. I think a lot of people, they have their, they feel like their secular life and their sacred life or something, but often it's like, well, no, the things that like you're one whole person, and that whole being can be used to connect. So yeah, that's really cool.
So really quick, like I've been writing some notes recently, just kind of trying to give people tools, like, because that's a question that a lot of people have, like, how do I do that, right? Like, how do I minister from my story and from my giftedness? And so for me at this point, there are 3 things that has helped me. Number one, whatever it is, it has to be obviously beneficial to the other. Okay. So that means practically pick a niche and save them from your giftedness. Like, you look into your own lives and find out like what are things that you really enjoy, do like an inventory of sorts, and find out one thing that you're like, a couple of things that you're really good at. And here's a question that I have for a lot of people, and especially my youth, when they ask me, I said, if someone were to give you the mic and for an hour, and you don't have time to prepare, and you're gonna give this thing without any notes, what are you gonna talk about? So don't prepare, no notes. What are you gonna talk about for an hour? Start there and write down a list of things, and and you eventually come to your sweet spot. Like you tell me to talk about chai, I can talk to you for hours about it, right? So that can be coffee for somebody else. That can be, I don't know, there can be so many different things for different people.
Star Wars.
And what are you good at? And then start there and share with people. So the second thing is, so obviously beneficial. And then the second thing is, you have to be genuinely curious about the other. You got to be genuinely interested in other people. And especially in a culture that is already allergic to religion, and even more to institutionalized religion. Like I said, we can't afford to lead with orthodoxy. We must lead from empathy. We have to. There's no other choice. And that means to step into somebody else's story and hear them and listen to them and start from where they are, not from where you are, or not from where you want them to be. Very, very different. And
Huge.
And you need expertise to go viral, but you need empathy to build a tribe. So what I have right now, I think, is a tribe of people who have united under chai, obviously, but also the other things that are represented by it. And I think the things that are represented by it is the fruit of the spirit. Things like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. And that's for me, that's what I want to get at through these things. It's meaningful content through chai. And so, that starts with empathy. And the last thing is, is to be scripturally consistent. No matter what you do, you have to identify if it's in scripture, like what does God say about it? Is it contradicting, the gospels, the way of Jesus? And you start from there. So yeah, obviously beneficial, genuinely curious, and scripturally consistent. You start there, and I think you can get somewhere. So. At least for me, that's been helping me. So
wow,
that's awesome.
So good.
I wrote that down. I love that. Those were great notes.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
All right. That's so good. I would say that's a great place to land the plane, but there's an even better place. It feels weird to say after such a good say. It's not really. There's another place we want to land the plane, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin has prepared something very, very special, specifically for the Burn the Haystack tribe. I'm going to steal that. We're going to say the Burn the Haystack tribe, the haystack burners themselves. All of y'all, we've been talking about chai, so we need to really level up the Burn the Haystack chai game. Okay, so we need everybody on board with this. All right,
you guys
listening.
need to just get real with chai. You need to actually take this seriously. We've been talking about this for years now, and finally, it's happening.
So, Kevin,
nice.
Can we pass the mic to Kevin?
Yes.
Okay.
For another hour. No, I'm kidding.
No, okay. So this was a fun exercise because, you guys asked me to figure out, okay, like if there was a chai recipe for the Burn the Haystack tribe, what would it be? And I had to do a little bit of searching and some digging. And I have a couple of interesting things for y'all. So what the recipe that I'm going to give you is it's like a baseline masala chai recipe, but with a few things that are uniquely suited for your tribe based on who you guys are. Okay. Yeah. So it's going to be fun. So the typically for chai, you use loose leaf black tea, and that can come from different parts of the world. And so I wanted to find out if New Zealand has their own tea that's endemic to that region, and so it turns out there is. And so apparently there's this black tea called Zeelong teas that are handpicked by only like the top 3 leaves, and they're certified organic and grown in the Waikato region.
No joke. I have been to the Zeelong tea estate. I have had tea there. It's not too far from where I live.
Perfect.
Yeah,
that's it.
I am on this already. You have sold me.
Yep. So it's Waikato black tea from where you are, and there's a store in Hamilton. I think that's where you're from, right, Josh?
Yep.
Yeah. It's there, man. So you get that. So that's a good black tea that you can use.
All right.
And then you need the other spices. So you got to spice that thing up. So the spice mix is pretty standard for masala chai, which is you need two small pieces of cinnamon bark, couple of pods, 2 to 3 pods of cardamom, green cardamom pods, and then you get 2 peppercorns, 1 clove, 1 little petal of star anise. Ooh. That's optional. If you don't like the licorice kind of flavor profile, you would avoid that. That's fine. It's okay. Then obviously you might need a little bit of ginger. You need a little bit, small piece of ginger, like a teaspoon of ginger, half a teaspoon of ginger. Then and 1.5 cups of milk, and whatever milk you choose. So you want the milk to be a fatty milk. So my wife and I have gone plant-based recently, and so you can either use 2% if you're using cow's milk, but my personal go-to is Oatly full-fat oat milk.
Ooh.
It's really good.
I do like oat milk.
Oatly full fat. Full fat is key. You gotta have full. Otherwise, the chai is gonna be really thin, and that's not the consistency that you want. You want it to be like creamy and thick. So that's that. And then sugar. But then, so then I was like, okay, there needs to be another thing. So you got the New Zealand piece there, and I want to get the Australian piece in there.
Ooh.
This might be a risk, but I haven't tried this, obviously. So you need to try it, and you let me know. You might want to put maybe a teaspoon of Vegemite. If you like Vegemite, I don't know if you guys do, because I was like trying to look for.
I'm into it.
I don't know. I just did a quick Google search, and I was just like, "Are you guys into Marmite or Vegemite?" So Google told me that Vegemite is your thing. I don't know.
Sure.
Is that correct? I don't know.
I think Vegemite's more Australian, but Marmite, I'm into Marmite because it's sanitarium. So I support the Adventist sanitarium, but I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two, personally.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I know the correct answer is Marmite, but I'm going to be honest, I'm a Vegemite guy.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, son. I have other sanitarium products at home, but I'm a Vegemite guy. I can't deny it. So I'm on this.
So the Vegemite, but the thing is, Vegemites that can ruin it. So you ought to be very careful with the Vegemite stuff. Because I've had Marmite growing up in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
And I hated it.
It's strong.
Not my favorite. It's like one of those polarizing foods. But anyhow, but I think the flavor profiles of Vegemite, as I looked into it, could work with the chai if you're very careful about it. So I wouldn't put more than like a 1/4 teaspoon of it.
Yeah. It would have to be very small
onto your cup. So that's there you go. That's your tea.
So right. I think what we're gonna do is we are gonna assemble the ingredients somehow, and then sometime in the next little while we are gonna make a video or something like that to demonstrate to see if it's actually the real deal. I was with you the whole way up until the Vegemite piece. I'm not sure how that's going to go, but we'll have to try it. We'll have to see.
I am full steam ahead on this, guys.
All right.
I will, yeah. And I want to say, okay, so our audience is a bit international, so I understand it might not be possible for everybody to get the black leaf from the Zilong tea estate. Mm-hmm. So maybe just get whatever ingredients you can, make the chai, and then tag us in the post as the Burn the Haystack chai. Obviously, the Vegemite being the key, the key thing.
Yeah, for everybody else, if you can't get the New Zealand tea, some good quality, top grade teas would be loose leaf Assam tea. That's from India, the up country of India. Loose leaf Assam tea. You can get that from your grocery store where you're. If you have an Indian kind of store, grocery store where you are, you can get it there. Ceylon tea is also very good. Ceylon black tea is pretty popular. That's from my neck of the woods in Sri Lanka. So you can get that too. But if you can't get any of that stuff, at the very least, you get like loose leaf get black tea in tea bags. But then when you have the bags, remove the tea from the tea bags and then empty out the contents into the tea thing, because you need a very strong black tea kind of base, because if you just have the tea bags, the milk is going to be the tea is going to be really thin, and so when you put it in the milk, it's going to be really just kind of like watery, like with a chai hint. You don't want that.
Okay.
And so yeah, you want to make it strong so that when the milk is added, it's nice. So it's a couple of things to kind of keep in mind.
Okay. Very good indeed. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited.
I can't wait, man.
Yeah.
I'm pumped. I'm already like piecing together how I'm gonna. Yep. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, hey, I want to thank you, Kevin, for your time. I also want to thank you for your ministry, everything that you're doing. By the time this episode airs, you'll have 300 million subscribers and climbing. It's going to be fantastic. Really excited for what you've been able to achieve in the very short time that you've been on TikTok. And yeah, I just know that God's going to continue to bless you and your ministry. Thank you for your heart, man. And yeah, just can't wait to see what God's got in store for the Chai Guy next.
We don't know if you want to be called that, but we're going to keep saying it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. That's kind of... No, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And for those of you listening, you can find me, Cross Culture Christian. That's kind of my handle on Instagram, on YouTube, Lankan Arabian on Twitter. I wasn't able to make the Cross Culture Christian thing work there, but if you're there on my Instagram, I'm mostly active on obviously TikTok, but then Instagram. So follow me there for chai tips and other things. So yeah,
beautiful,
awesome. And so yeah, we'll leave links to your socials and stuff in the show notes for people. And and guys, we would love to hear from you. We'd love to see if you try the Burn the Haystack recipe or any of Kevin's recipes. We'd love to know about it from this episode. So make sure you get in touch with us. And the best place to find all things Burn the Haystack is just head on over to burnthehaystack.org.
That's right. And if you haven't already subscribed, this is the perfect opportunity. Smash the subscribe button wherever you are. And if you'd like to help us out some more, leave us a rating or review on whatever podcatching app that you're using. And if you want to take it to the next step, put your money where your mouth is, buy our merch. Just head to burnthehaystack.org and buy a t-shirt or a hoodie, and it'll look fantastic. Black goes with everything. So it's great.
And it's slimming.
It's very slimming.
Yeah. So buy a t-shirt. We are now t-shirt salesmen. That's what we need. Anyway, you guys are awesome. That is Josh, Jesse, and Kevin out.